Well, I want to introduce Dr. Kara Powell. She's the Executive Director of Fuller Youth Institute and a faculty member at Fuller Theological Seminary. Named by Christianity Today as one of the 50 women to watch, Kara serves as youth and family strategist for Orange and also speaks regularly at national parenting and leadership conferences. She's the author or co-author of a number of books, many of which relate to her sticky faith research. Kara loves how her research helps her and her husband parent their 3 kids, 2 of whom are teenagers, so we know she's a veteran of war. She asked me what she should speak on, and this is one of the topics I had to choose from: building family faith in the midst of your frantic schedule. I knew we have people here that could identify with that. Kara, welcome. Give her a round of applause.
Yeah, I tell people that now that I have 2 teenagers at home, youth ministries become a whole lot less abstract for me, definitely. So I have been thanking the Lord this week for the Barnabas group and thanking the Lord for all of you who have made time in your busy schedules to be here today. And I know that when it comes to your week is very full. You've got church commitments, you've got your vocational calling. How many of you are parents in the room? Okay, how about grandparents in the room? Yeah, you are the more smiley ones, you grandparents, definitely. Your kids are busy, your grandkids are busy in school events, and then they're also busy in community events, scouts, sports. Right now, many of our families were involved in soccer, and maybe you have near your hometown AYSO, soccer, community soccer. We call that all your Saturdays occupied as parents when it comes to soccer. And then also, you want to have time with friends. You want to be able to work out. And soon your calendar ends up so full. You are double booked. You are triple booked. And you start to feel stressed. How many of you wish you had more time, period? How many of you wish you had more time? Yeah, almost all of our hands are raising. Here's what one dad told me, how he feels about time. He said, our family is so stressed. We have all these good things for our daughter, but they're all at once. One mom said even more poignantly, I feel like I have a gun to my head because of her busy schedule. And it's not just we as parents and grandparents, adults who are busy. Kids are busy and stressed too. There's some research that indicates that 13 to 17-year-olds are actually feeling more stressed than we as adults. 20% of teenagers say they are extremely stressed. Here's what's interesting. When those parents of the very same teenagers are asked if their kids are stressed, only 8% of those parents say their kids are stressed. So we might not even be aware of the stress our kids and our grandkids are under. And it's not just our busy schedules. One of the things that I know really concerns all of us as parents and grandparents is the faith development of the young people we care about. Now, I want you to imagine that this young person is crossing a bridge from high school to life after high school, whether that's college, military, the workforce. Really good research indicates that about 1 in 2 young people drift from God and the church after they graduate from high school. So I want you to imagine the young people you care about most in your family, community, church. Imagine taking a picture of them in your mind. And then get a red pen and put an X over 50% of their faces. Because that many will drift. Now, as a mom and a leader and a follower of Jesus, I'm not satisfied with that. Are you? Okay, let's try that again. Because if that's your level of dissatisfaction, we should take another break or something. So, when I think about almost half of young people drifting from Jesus and the church after they graduate from high school, I'm not satisfied with that. Are you? No. Much better. Well, you might say, well, Kara, those are the ones, those drift, they were never all that serious about their faith. Not so. One study indicates that 4 out of 5 of those who drift intended to cross well. So in the midst of family busyness, in the midst of young people's struggles to have lifelong faith, we at the Fuller Youth Institute have this mission. We develop tools that guide young people toward lifelong, or what we call sticky faith. And part of what I love about our mission is we have this unique engine at the Fuller Youth Institute that drives that mission. It's our strategy. Our strategy is to leverage research. What we're going to talk about today is research from a longitudinal study of 500 youth group graduates during their first 3 years in college. I used to say through their junior year in college, but we've realized first 3 years and junior year, not always the same thing. In addition, we also studied 50 families nationwide that are particularly effective at building long-term faith. And that's the research we're going to look at today. But then what I love about our strategy is we turn that research into resources, practical tools, online tools, books, curriculum, seminars, learning cohorts. And because we are at Fuller Seminary, anybody an alum of Fuller Seminary are taking classes at Fuller? Okay, there are some of us in this room. Great. Fuller Seminary, the largest evangelical seminary in the world. As we turn research into proven tools, we have this beautiful and powerful dissemination and convening platform. So as we think about building family faith in the midst of family franticness, the last thing I want to do is give you more to do. What we're going to try to do together is figure out how to make the most of what you're probably already doing in your family or maybe even in your church. But because it's research-based, we eliminate the guesswork. So we're going to first look at 3 ways that we in our families and in our congregations and in our communities can make the most of what we're already doing. And it starts with making the most of young people's spark. Now, what do I mean by their spark? As defined by the Search Institute, a spark is a young person's passion, ability, or interest. So as you think about the children, teenagers, young adults, emerging adults in your life, some of them are probably into sports. Others may be into art, drama, hiking, puppets, whatever it might be. Our oldest is 15, and Nathan is into watching football. That's his spark. Now that works well for me because I love football. My idea of a good Sunday is going to church, coming home, taking a nap, and then I've recorded a game so that Nathan and I can sit on the couch and watch football for an hour. 3-hour game in an hour. Now I'm from San Diego, so my favorite team is the San Diego Chargers. Okay, there are some of us, 2-6. Our strategy should now be going for a good draft next year, I think. So that's my favorite team. My second favorite team is whoever's playing the Raiders. Okay, so those are my 2 favorite teams when it comes to football. So what I love is taking Sundays, Sunday afternoons especially, and making the most of what I'm already doing by leaning into what Nathan's passionate about. But notice when I talk about my Sunday afternoons, I actually have 3 children, and our 2 daughters are not into football yet. We have a book on the back table that you're welcome to come check out, and there's a paragraph in that book, The Sticky Faith Guide for Your Family, that's created more heat than any other paragraph in that book. Because out of a study of the University of Southern California, we've seen, longitudinal study of 300 families over 30 years, that when young people, kids, grandkids, feel like their parents or grandparents play favorites, then those young people distance themselves from everything that's important to that adult that they feel like is favoring somebody else, including the adult's faith. And the reason that that paragraph has sparked so much interest is because they are dads, stepdads, uncles, and grandfathers saying, you know what, my kid who's into sports, it's easy for me to bond with them. It's harder with my other 2 kids. And I can relate. Jessica, our 9-year-old, she is into art. I am not into art. I came into our marriage with 0 glue guns. Dave came into our marriage with 2 glue guns. So what I have to do to make the most of Jessica's spark is I have to ask her, hey, Jessica, do you want to print some online coloring pages? Yeah, Mommy. Are there other things I would rather do? You bet. But I don't want Jessica to think that Mommy only has time to watch football with Nathan and she doesn't have time to sit and color with me. So as we think about the young people that are important to us, how can we make the most and support what they're already doing? But then let's talk about another area of our research. How do we make the most of our conversations with young people? If you're like me, some of your conversations with young people are really wonderful, almost magical. And others, they don't go so well. We're going to watch a 60-second clip from the TV show The Middle that captures how some family conversations, in this particular scene, it's around the dinner table, aren't always a picturesque moment.
What are you doing? We having company or something?
No, I don't know. I just thought we'd eat in here.
Did the kids break the big TV? Hey, kids, get in here.
No, nobody broke the TV. No, I just thought, we don't have to eat with the TV every night. We could just sit and talk to each other.
Whoa, why are there plates on the table?
Because that's where we're eating dinner.
What? I don't want to watch the little TV.
Did someone break the big TV?
The TVs are fine. We're just not watching them until after supper. Tonight, we're having a family dinner in here for a change.
Dad? You heard your mother. Everybody, sit down.
What is the big deal? We've eaten at the table before.
I don't have a chair.
Huh. I guess we hadn't really eaten at the table since we had Brick. Not a problem. We have more chairs outside.
Dad, why are we doing this?
Maybe your mom and I need to talk to you. I don't know.
Are you getting a divorce?
Let's see how this goes.
This'll be fun.
I love how she brushes the snow off the chair from the outside deck for their youngest son. Yeah, I can relate. Some family conversations, they're not all that sweetness and light. But here's one of the ways that our research has changed my parenting. Every day, I think I'm a better and different parent. And when it comes to making the most of my conversations, this is probably the way that has the most immediate impact. So imagine that you're talking with a young person. Let's say you're talking to a young person named Juanita. We had a PhD student whose whole focus was parent-child conversations. And so if I am, say, Juanita's mom, and I'm talking to Juanita, and say after church on our drive home, I ask her, how was church? How was youth group? What'd you talk about? What'd you learn? Depending on Juanita's mood, her relationship with me, I might get an answer. I might get kind of a leave me alone, mom, eye roll. Well, what our research suggests is when it comes to making the most of conversations we're already having with kids, it's a good thing to ask those kinds of questions. But I love it when research brings in a new twist, a new understanding. And here's the research twist. As important as it is for us as adults to ask young people questions, it's as important for us to share about our own experiences. Instead of just interviewing kids or lecturing kids, how do we organically share ourselves? So that means every night around the Powell dinner table, one of the questions we discuss together is, how did you see God at work today? When we started that question, our 9-year-old said, well, Mommy, Daddy, I can't answer that question. Why not? She said, I don't have a job. How did you see God at work today? But then when we reframed it, how did you see God working today? They have ways that they can answer that question. And what's wonderful is not only are they answering that question, but Dave and I answer that question too. And then out of our research, especially these 50 families that I mentioned, we've seen two very powerful words when it comes to building faith in young people in the midst of a frantic schedule. And that is for us as adults to say, I'm sorry to kids when we blow it, to apologize for our tone of voice. That's my most common apology. It's not so much the words that I say, it's how I say it as a mom. This 2-word phrase, I'm sorry, can help build your faith and your family's faith. And you can use these words, I'm sorry, as well as describe your own spiritual journey and what God is teaching you in the midst of bedtime, mealtime, those windows of time you already have with kids. Now, by now, you might be feeling just a tiny bit overwhelmed, but here's the good news, and this is the third way that our research can help you build family faith in the midst of your frantic schedule, and this is that you are not alone in what you do. Out of our research, we've seen how important it is in building sticky faith to create a team around your family and around each young person. When we started our research, we were kind of hoping to find a silver bullet. If every family, if every church just did X, then that would guarantee long-term faith. And you know what? We haven't found a silver bullet, but we have found what we call silver shavings. When we looked at 13 different youth group participation variables, the one that was most correlated to mature faith in both high school and college was intergenerational relationships. Not having young people separate from the rest of the church, but in the midst of the life of the community. And one of the ways that we can build those relationships in our churches and in our home is through what Chap Clark at Fuller Seminary calls reversing the 5-to-1 ratio. Now, if I was to show up at your church building sometime this weekend and talk to your children's pastor or youth pastor, they might tell me, well, with Sunday school or with small groups or with our retreat coming up, we want one adult for every 5 kids. Well, out of our research, we're saying, what if we have not one adult for 5 kids, but 5 adults for each kid? 5 adults who are on that kid's team. 5 adults who are praying for that kid. 5 adults who show up at kids' events. So part of what I'm doing as a family is constantly talking with our kids about who's on your team and how can we invite those adults to show up to what our family is already doing, making the most of what we're already doing. That soccer match, that volleyball tournament. Or in particular, when our kids have turned 13, our son did 2 years ago and our daughter just did last month. I'll talk about my son for now, but when Nathan turned 13, as he was becoming a teenager, Dave and I wanted to instill in him this idea that he is part of a team, that there are at least 5 adults who really care about him. So with Nathan, we identified 5 adults, and over the course of the summer before he turned 13, we went to those 5 adults and we said, will you spend a little time with Nathan? We don't care if you take him hiking or to Costco. It doesn't matter, but spend a little time with him. All 5 of those men said yes. This is a picture that one of those 5 men took with Nathan. They're golfing. I love this picture because of the thumb in the upper left corner, because that is Roger's thumb. Roger's one of Nathan's 5. Roger is 72. He's part of Nathan's team. And then in the midst of Nathan spending time with these 5 men, my husband remembered the artsy person in our marriage. My husband and Nathan made this box out of wood. We call Nathan's team box. We put pictures of Nathan with each of the men, including a picture of Nathan with Roger, and advice these men had given Nathan into that box. And the reason that we made it a box is because we want to be able to continue to add adults to that box as God brings more adults into Nathan's life. So this is a picture of Nathan with Perry that we took a few months ago, because this picture, well, and actually one where they're not both sticking their tongues out, this picture and advice from Perry, it's now in Nathan's team box. So when Nathan was getting baptized, because of Sticky Faith, Dave and I said to him, it'd be really great if in the midst of your baptism, we were involved as parents, and maybe another adult who's meaningful to you is also involved. And Nathan paused when we said that, and he said, I just don't know which of my 5 to choose. Can I tell you what that means to me as a mom, that Nathan's big question is, which of my 5 should I choose? This is a picture of the baptism in the pool, and there's our family. There's Jeff, the pastor, on the left, and there's 72-year-old Roger standing with Nathan. Well, hopefully by now you've gotten a sense of how our research can help you and other families and churches make the most of what you're already doing in the midst of your family schedule. And now we'd love to dream with you about how we can partner with the Barnabas Group to make the most of leaders and parents eager for our help. At your seat, you've already received a DVD series called the Sticky Faith Family Training. These are 5 sessions, some of which touch on the research that I've already shared this morning, that you can use in your small groups, your church can use in family training. Thanks to some donors' support, we are able to give this $40 value to you today. We hope you take it as a parent, grandparent. We have extras at the booth that we'd be happy to give you if you will give it to a parent or grandparent or leader who you know needs it and will use it. Then thanks to the support of a Barnabas member who's here this morning, we've been able to build on our Sticky Faith research and do a whole new research study looking at 250 congregations that are especially effective with 15 to 29-year-olds. We are having a summit at Fuller in Pasadena, and we are thrilled that 63% of U.S. Christians are going to be represented by the denominational and church leaders who are attending that summit, because they're eager for our research-based resources. And it's such a wide variety of folks who are coming to that summit, everywhere from Methodists to Presbyterians to Baptists to Pentecostals to Roman Catholics. We're all going to be together, national key leaders, reviewing our research and dreaming about what it means for young people. And part of why we have this convening power to draw 63% of U.S. Christians represented by those leaders is because we're so committed to partnership and collaboration. We love linking arms with amazing ministries, and we would love to see the Barnabas Group be smack dab in the middle of our network of partnerships. And in fact, because I was here a few years ago, it's good to see many of you again, I can share an encouraging update of how Barnabas Group members are already using their expertise and experience to further the mission of lifelong faith. If you will please turn with me to page 41 in your program, I'd love to walk you through our feedback form and give you a sense for how your expertise, your experience can make a difference in the life of young people that you know as well as far and wide. If you look at the first circle there, I want to be added to your free family update. This is a monthly resource, totally free, that we can send you, that you can forward on to other people. We would love to get that in your email box. If we don't go down a couple bullet points, I've thought about how FYI can share Sticky Faith and its implications at another influential forum. Thanks to a Barnabas Group member, I got connected to Dennis Rainey and Family Life Today, and I recorded some radio broadcasts that are going to be aired in January to over 9 million listeners. That was because of a Barnabas Group member. And then if we go down to the next bullet point, I think I can help you develop a more strategic approach to innovation. I've already talked to one of you today about our desire to do innovative youth ministry. Some of you are brilliant in innovation. I have a PhD in practical theology. I have taken 0 business classes. So we need your help. Scale. One of you is here today, came up to me 2 years ago when I started talking about scale, and you said, I think I can help you scale. You got experience doing that, and so sure enough, we met twice at a Panera Bread. You gave me homework in between, and you helped develop a whole team of speakers who are taking Sticky Faith nationwide. If that's your area of expertise, we continue to have questions there. Fund development. A Barnabas Group member has gotten me in front of a foundation that I'll be doing a presentation in Sacramento in a month. Branding and marketing, an area where we continue to need help. You can see social media, strategic partnerships. I'm so thrilled to say that we're in dialogue with Compassion International about a partnership because they want Sticky Faith to influence their 1.7 million children globally. And we need help figuring out how to create the best possible partnerships, and some of you are gurus at that. So if you would fill out this form, at the very least, we'd love to get you our family update. But if you have more areas of expertise, please let us know. I will say this. Sometimes the seeds of Sticky Faith take a while to bear fruit, especially in the midst of our busy family schedules. On Wednesday, I was talking to Brian, who's a parent of 3 teenagers. And he's been following Sticky Faith for a couple years, and he's found Sticky Faith and the principles we've talked about this morning especially helpful with his youngest, who has special needs. His youngest, Ethan, has a motor processing disorder, and the way Brian describes his son to others is it's kind of like he's had a stroke, and so he has a hard time speaking and interacting. And so Ethan, as a teenager, he's tried to connect with peers, but that hasn't worked very well at school, and to be honest, youth group hasn't been a friendly place either. But Brian and his wife, they're passionate about building family faith, so they've made the most of Ethan's sparks and how much he loves Boy Scouts. They've had good conversations with him, and then they've especially developed an amazing team around Ethan. They went to 5 different adults at Ethan's church and said, hey, will you take a special interest in Ethan? Will you show up at his scout events? Will you take him out to Starbucks every once in a while? All 5 said yes. Ethan graduated from high school in June with this established team, this wonderful web of support. Well, Ethan's now attending a junior college. It's harder for him academically. It's even harder for him socially. And Ethan has told Brian and his wife, hey, I just want to quit. I don't see a future for myself. I don't know if I'm ever going to get married. I don't know if I'm ever going to have a job. And Brian and his wife, great parents, they've tried to talk to him, but it just wasn't getting through. But remember, this family's not alone. Ethan's got 5 adults on his team. So those 5 adults have rallied these last months as Ethan's navigating new junior college territory. One adult in particular has tutored Ethan in math, has taken him out for pizza, and has said, you can do this. So as I mentioned, I talked to Brian, the dad, on Wednesday. The day before, Tuesday of this week, Brian picked up Ethan from junior college. And when Ethan got in the car, Ethan said, hey, when we get home, I want to get the catalog for next semester so I know what I need to register for. Ethan's done a 180 from dropping out of school to being eager to register. And Brian, the dad, he is quick to say, it's about the adults that are in Ethan's life. And Brian said, he said to me, this is what Sticky Faith is all about. You see, our dream is that every Ethan, every young person that you know, every young person that we're talking about this morning in all these wonderful ministries has that kind of adult support, has parents who are maximizing sparks, who are having those kind of conversations. That is our dream. And we would love to talk to you at our booth, have you fill out a form, because you can help make that dream a reality. Thank you.
Let's pray for Kara. Father, thank you so much for Kara's just passion and vision to see families just bond and really build into the lives of their kids and their grandkids. I pray, Lord, that each one of us would take away one concrete idea that we might use in that vein today. So we thank you for her. We pray this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Fill out page 41.